Alright, so I just wanted to talk a little bit, just a minute or two before the video, talk about what I got out of this. So I did get it installed, everything went well. My camera did die, or rather I ran out of batteries. I had 4 and they're all dead. So the end of the video does cut out a little early before everything's fully installed, but I got up to the point where the engine's back together, so I think it'll be a pretty good and still really useful idea, and I got all the way through the breakdown of it. So what you're looking for out of a big bore kit and what I'm looking for might not be the same thing. I wanted to be able to go 55 miles an hour consistently up a hill into the wind all the time with the XR150, and I found that I wasn't able to do that in its stock form. The exhaust didn't help, rejet didn't help, slightly modifying the airbox didn't help, so I looked to the big bore kit, and it did help. I feel like it helped a lot. It really can hold that speed a lot better, but it is not faster. It might not even be the same speed. I'm not sure if it's slower, but it's definitely not faster. I can't go 75, 80 in it, but I can reliably go 55, fairly decently go 60 miles an hour, which is all I was looking for. So if you're looking for something like that, this might be the right choice for you. If you're looking for more than that, you're probably going to want to get the cam as well. It sounds like that's something that really opens things up and allows for like a higher speed maneuver. So what I'm looking for, it did perfect. And if that's what you're looking for too, just some, like, I guess lower end torque or something, I'm not sure what you'd call that, but it definitely got me there. 5th gear, 55 miles an hour, go up a hill, no problem, and it just torques its way right up that hill. So if that's what you're looking for, then this is probably for you. I appreciate you watching, and yeah, if you have any questions, leave comments, like, subscribe, obviously, and I'll do my best to let you know any insight I might have. So thank you. The first thing you're gonna have to do is remove the seat. Side panels, of course, gotta come off too. That's probably first, I guess. 10mm on the side panels, 10mm on most of the seat bolts too. So you'll need that, and then you'll inevitably need your 12mm once you get on to the next step. Just kind of pull back on the seat, and it should come right up once the bolts are out. After that, you're going to hunt down the bolts for, like I said, the gas tank. I left the fairing on, no problem. Just got to detach it down there, 10mm. At top, there will be a 12mm bolt. It's right in the center there, and then the whole system kind of shifts back. Once you get those bolts off, you'll want to, underneath the tank, start disconnecting some of those rubber hoses. They're pretty much all going to have to come off, but it's best to disconnect a couple, especially there's one that goes directly into the tank itself. I used a flathead and kind of undid the pinch connector things, and then sort of pry off a little bit with the flathead. It works out pretty well. It is definitely important as you're going to try to either take a few pictures or just, be really conscious of where those hoses are routed to, where they're coming from, where they're going. A big part of when I was putting everything back together, I had most of the pieces on, but routing all the hoses and whatnot did give me some pause, and I had to spend some time kind of looking at it and thinking about it. So worth paying attention to that for sure. But once you have the tank off, you're in a pretty good position to start removing some cylinder head things. I definitely spent a few minutes wiping things down as I was breaking it down. I ride a lot on the dirt roads, and I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't exposing the internals of the engine to any dirt, or as little dirt as possible, you know. So worth doing, I would say. From there, I started taking off the emissions things. See the rubber hoses you have to take off. That comes off. It was pretty difficult, but it came off. Just a little more stuck on than the rest of the stuff was. A real stiff hose. I believe here I was using an 8mm. Some of the bolts up there are a little smaller, and I was just kind of disconnecting the things around the emission stuff as I was going, trying to work my way down the engine. And you'll see as I point and gesture like a caveman, just pointing at the different things that have been unrouted or unconnected, and just trying to provide reference. I'm not a professional mechanic, of course. I'm just a guy working on it, and I thought another video of this being put out would help some more people too. So, because I used a lot of videos and a lot of different resources when doing this project. So just wanted to throw another perspective at it. I know some people online were able to remove that setup as one piece. I ended up, I don't know if I took off too many bolts or the wrong bolts or what, but I ended up, it came separated, so it was just fine. You know, I just put it back together when I put it back in, but not as convenient as the way some other people did it, because it did take a little bit of trying to remember. Oh, well, hello. I'm also not a professional photographer, so not a big deal. But from that point, I just started undoing the cylinder head bolts on the engine. It looks like I got those out, and then I must have shifted to, that's an engine mount right there that I'm taking off. Let's see if I have, yep, 12mm is what those are. And pretty straightforward, and the engine didn't completely collapse and fall to the ground when I took it off. There was really nothing to worry about. Just kind of breaking it down piece by piece. That, of course, is the spark plug. Pop that off, reach in with the spark plug socket. I think it's the 5/8 one. It's just like the normal 5/8 one you might see in your Craftsman kit back at home. So nothing crazy there. The one I have has like a little rubber thing in it, but usually I just break it loose and then pull it out because it's not exactly buried in the cylinder, you know. And then this is the result of going up one on the pilot and main jet. A very useful tool is the ratcheting wrenches. They come in handy on really tight stuff. Not like a be-all end-all tool, but definitely if you have them lying around. I, for some reason, have a metric and a standard set that is still in the box. I just don't use them very much because more often than not the socket is the better choice, but it does help get into some of these tighter areas. So begin undoing some of the stuff around the carburetor, 10mm, 5mm Allen, and you just kind of start working your way through that. I had not taken the carb off before. Every time I did the jets, I removed my pipe on the side and then would work my way in from there and just do it underneath. Worked pretty well. I think Birch, Life of Birch would be the guy that I saw do that first, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty slick. Draining the fuel is always a hassle for me because I can never seem to quite get it right, but it's not a big deal. Just try to get as much as you can in there. Carbs pulled, ready to move on. Begin finishing taking off the rest of those cylinder head things so we can actually get into it. Earlier I was taking off the emissions bolts, now that I remember. These are the 10mm valve cover heads, valve cover bolts, and you just pull them off and do your best to kind of wiggle your way around and get that out carefully. Underneath it is your engine. For example. I've never broken an engine down this far. Most of my work has been repair, simple stuff, take an alternator off, put it back on, that kind of thing, on cars. And then some work on the Ford Ranger, of course. This is on the channel here. Pull those covers off the side. 10mm, 6mm for the covers. And this was my first time ever actually looking for top dead center and lining up the timing marks before. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of people online to explain it out there. Basically looking for the marks that are by my forehead on that wheel, and you're trying to line them up with, you see where I'm spinning there, that little hole I keep putting my flashlight into has two dash marks going upright. So once the marks on the wheel at the top, the sprocket, at the top are lined up with the head, then and then the marks in the little hole are straight up and down. That should be top dead center. One of the ways to check is to reach up to those little rockers and see how much tension is on them. You can usually wiggle them a little bit if you're at top dead center. If you're not and you're at like the opposite of it, basically, they'll be very tight. So I did a lot of that, a lot of checking, a lot of wiggling, and just making sure that things stayed where I needed them to be. After that, it looks like I removed the chain tensioner, 8mm. One of the most useful things I had as far as tools go would be if you buy the JIS Phillips head on Amazon or something like that. They're like the Japanese version of the Phillips bit, and they really do seem to fit better in these screws. Much less chance of stripping them out, and just an overall, better experience as someone working on something like this that isn't very good at it. So I've got everything ready. I'm now stuffing paper towels in there so I can take off those two bolts that hold in the camshaft. I do mix those up. Like I said, not a mechanic. So it should inspire you to know that you can do this too. I'm fairly confident if I can get through it, most anybody can. It's just a matter of following along, getting it good. Those little bolts, probably 8mm, almost sure of it. Oh, my mom appeared to hang out, so, but the work continues. So what I'm doing here is I've loosened it now. I'm taking that chain off and I'm tying it up just like you would like a brake caliper, just to make sure that basically it doesn't fall in and it stays kind of where it needs to be. I assume if it falls in, it's a real problem. I didn't find out. Follow the directions. After that, you can take those paper towels out because you pulled those bolts out and you're good to go there. And the sprocket, of course, you saw come out as well. So from here, I believe these are the actual head bolts. The other ones, I'm sorry, were valve cover bolts. Head bolts. These are what holds the top half of the engine to the bottom half of the engine. And they're going to be, 2 of them will be 10mm, and the other ones will be 12, I believe. And then those bolts are also what holds that contraption on top down, if that makes sense. The camshaft up there. Yeah, because that's where the cam is. So yeah, the camshaft up there. And you're undoing those, and you're going to be able to slide that out carefully, of course. It is, I believe, it felt like it was kind of like suction to it, you know. But once you break that connection, you just kind of pull it up and out. Gently rock it a little bit if you need to. From here, you're going to want to, you could have, I guess, already taken off the exhaust. A smart person maybe would have done this earlier than I did. I didn't, and thus I had to contend with the fact that my head was loose, and I was trying to remove my exhaust from it, and having that be solid is a lot better. Both just makes it easier. You can see me trying to get it there, and it rocks and stuff, so I end up having to like hold it down and kind of pry things apart. So it wasn't ideal, but once I got through that, was able to pull this off. And you want to pull that pretty much straight up and off, and then let that chain go through without, you know, losing it. And then you can move forward, well, once you get that off completely, of course, and begin taking off the lower portion. Similar story, you just got to work your way up. I had the plastic chain guide thing there kind of hooked on it for a second, so just be conscious of that as you're coming up with it, that it might grab on things, bump on things, and just keep an eye. If it's getting real tough, maybe something's holding it down. So I've always learned with stuff like this to try not to force it. You just got to figure out what's preventing you from getting to where you need to get, and get that thing out of the way. Better than trying to force something and accidentally break it. So just keep working your way up. And one of those can come out, and it's fine. Probably that one I'm messing with right there. And the other one, I believe, is attached or something. I'm not 100% sure. But that one, the straight one there, is the one I believe that could come out. The front one, I guess. Check top dead center again, because I'm paranoid about that. Even though there's nothing to check it against, I just wanted to make sure those 2 dashes are still there. And then you can start working your way, taking off the piston itself. You're going to use there's like a small little clip in there, so you have to use whatever you use to pry things out to get in there and pop that clip out. And then you'll be able to slide out that, I don't know, I guess bushing is what I would call it, a bushing. But there's a little metal cylinder thing that goes in there. It's what kind of holds everything together, allows it to spin freely. once I got that pin out, I was able to push it then using I had that large Allen wrench still from earlier, so I just kind of forced it through. Worked out pretty slick, and then yeah, I got the piston off. It's a pretty exciting moment. I had never ever gotten an engine down this far before, and I know it's a small engine, single piston and all that, but you know, everybody starts somewhere, so it's a pretty exciting moment. So exciting, in fact, that I apparently just left this footage here, but I know I had to work on the electrical stuff on the side of the bike there. You'll see some things are kind of not perfect, but that all runs up to the quad lock charger, so it's pretty useful. I did get that all fixed, and I got it out on the trails after I got this all done, and everything works really well. So here's the piston. You can see how those rings are on there. At this moment I'm kind of describing that, and I had music playing the whole time, so that's why I end up having to go back through. But you put the rings in, you'll see how the one ring is sandwiched. Didn't focus the greatest, but one of the rings are basically sandwiched in there. I think it's called the oil ring. But make sure none of those points like that, none of those line up with each other. So you got one facing north, and make another one facing, you know, south, and make the third one face west or something. So that's kind of what I took from that, to make sure there's not a blow by or whatever it's called. Again, this is all stuff you should check with multiple sources. I'm not a mechanic. I'm a guy following directions from a bunch of other people that are probably also not mechanics. I don't know. So it's an experience, and I got through it, and like I said, my bike runs great. I went on a 150-mile trip. You see my look of pride there as I got it on. The next step was a lot more tricky, getting those little wrist pins, I think they're called, or cotter pins. You want to get those in there, and then get them good. Yay! It's always nice when everything comes together. The project was moving a lot quicker than I thought it would. Overall, it took me about 4 hours, so I thought it would be a multi-day experience, and it just wasn't. So at this point, we're putting things back together, though, so that's an exciting time. I had trouble lining up these filters, or I'm sorry, these gaskets. I had trouble lining up these gaskets. I kept flipping it over, and couldn't get it right. So understand that when you have it lined up correctly, it should slide on very easily. If you're having to force it, twist it, do anything weird, something is wrong. So no matter how many times you flip it over, keep flipping it over until it goes on correctly, just like a USB. Just flip it over 3 times and you'll have it perfect. And then you start working your stuff back down onto the vehicle. You see that you gotta just keep working that chain up through everything. It all goes really smooth. You just take your time and be patient with yourself. Consult the directions a bunch. I never even took off my riding boots. I rode out to the shop, hung out for a bit, let the engine cool off, and then started working. This is another point where you just need to be checking things, making sure, getting those rings to go inside that piston chamber, that head or whatever, is tricky. Took me a lot of looking around and around and around, because again, you don't want to force it. That'll end up shoving the rings off of where they need to be. So just keep going around, poking them in. They're like a little tension, you know, so it'll get there with enough patience. You'll get there. Last thing you want to do is force anything, though. So it'll feel like it's hung up, it's not going, and then you'll finally get that last little spot where it's hung up, and it'll go right down, real smooth. And for me, it was just a lot of gentle wiggling and finding those rings, you know. So really do want to make sure it goes smooth on there. See little wiggles, wiggles. Check everything, and inevitably you'll get there. So it takes patience. You see, I put that chain guide thing back in there already, and now I'm working on the next gasket, which was a fun experience. Like I said, just keep flipping it over until you get it correct. I swear I tried lining it up visually and like, alright, this is how it's gonna go, and then something between putting it down and probably getting it through that chain area that I end up flipping it over on myself. So just patiently get through it. Same thing here with lining everything up and just kind of piece by piece by piece, make sure everything's going on smooth. It's on tight, and you can look around, make sure there's, it's flat on there, it's not held up by a little piece of something, and you'll be in a good position. You put the cam setup assembly back on there, and I just, you'll put the bolts on kind of hand tight until you're ready to get everything properly torqued on. So that helps make sure everything's lined up properly before it's tight. The next step is going to be getting that sprocket back on, and you'll just be putting those in by hand. I didn't put any paper towels in this time. It might be a good idea to do that if you're nervous about it, but definitely just be careful with those bolts. Make sure you're putting them in good and line some things up, and it'll be okay. When you're putting it back on, make sure you put those dashes, I guess the holes prevent you from really putting it on any other way though, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. Get that chain in there and then just put them on nice and smooth. It shouldn't be too tough because the tensioner's not on it right now, so it should go on fairly smooth and fairly easily. Check that timing again, possibly out of paranoia. You're going to want to torque those bolts down 24 foot-pounds on the 4 larger ones at the top there, you see, and then 6.5 foot-pounds on the 2-cylinder, the smaller ones. So I ended up having to get a different torque wrench to do the other ones because I didn't have one that went that low. You see, putting on the chain tensioner there, you gotta hold that tension while you bolt that down. I actually failed to do something here. I'm not sure what, but shortly after I got everything back together, oil started coming out of that point. I don't know if I didn't make it tight enough, but do make sure it's tight enough. Now is a great opportunity to see if that engine spins and everything's good.